Fine, it's fine. I don't know why. This is crazy actually. Why did I start stream this soon? What am I doing? I haven't even. Oh my god. By the way, deep dude. Oh my god. Can't believe it. Yo, my guy. Oh my god. I hate Google so much. Google Drive, I mean. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean it's bug? And I need to reinstall it. Like, why would I? Oh, yeah. Why am I so big? I shouldn't be this. I should not be this big actually. It's kind of crazy. Let me move on here and get smaller. I am small. What do you know about it? Huh? What? God damn it. This is such great. God. Oh, God. God. God damn it, dude. Where is it? Google Drive. Bye bye. Oh my god. This is crazy. Holy guys, Victoria 3 hasn't loaded yet, so you're not missing much. I mean, I still haven't checked my stream to see if something wrong, but I don't care now. The later, I mean, later I will care. Very soon. If if my addiction to leak is calm, then thinking about it make me really sad. No, no, no. Oh, still hasn't loaded. But uh, why does OBS doesn't have the red thing over its icon anymore? It used to have it. And why am I so So quiet. No, I'm not quiet. I don't think so. Wait, it loading for some reason. Wait, is this still debug mode? I'm gonna fuck if it is. Then my load won't, yeah. That's gonna fuck. Good. It's still debug mode. Let me load that shit. Yes, why is it lagging so much? My ROM is not enough apparently. I mean, it worked fine right now, but I don't know. Dude, I just wanna beat up so bad, but I can't cause last year. Actually, it might work. Need to liberate Hungary first. Oh, Bohemia immediately. Oh, Hungary. That's all. Please, Russia, join me. Join me, Russia. You don't want to. Russia. Russia, please. Please, Russia, join me. It's fine. Do I want to take it right now or later? That's another question I have. I think later is fine, but I can just like it costs so much info me. I don't think it's necessary though. Let's see. Venice maybe? Russia, Venice. I don't know actually. I just want Bohemia to. And Lombardy? No. I don't think I have enough information for it. I just hope Russia don't switch side. Please don't switch side on me. It's kinda crazy if they did, I mean. This will be so easy. I don't even need to respond. Come on. Oh my god. Let's try. Need ball. Let's ball. Earning. Come on. Good. Cancel it right now, so I win. I win, actually. Okay. Let's see, that's better. Okay, we're winning, so I don't think I need to defend. Last thing. Oh. Yeah, we're winning so hard. So yeah, no problem. I just set this up to first. Is that kinda annoying? What is it called? I don't know. I don't know. Why? Am I too quiet? Or is the mic not picking me up? Like, what is this? Come on, please, you can lose. You can lose, dude. Oh. Okay. There's nothing to do. Which is crazy. National police not ideal. But now I think let's go economics. It should work now. It doesn't work. Like, what do you mean? What is there to do? Having this console parts, I can talk, but the separation I can do that because but I'm kind of lazy to apply minister. But it's not on our ship. Not part of our law, like too. Lazy. We're breaking in. Let's go. Oh no. Come on. Oh my god. I disconnected it. Like, what do you mean? Go back? What is I should go back. Just let the menu. Next connection. What are the... Wait, why are the Dominion? And they already... Oh, there? What? I'm confused. Can they be Upper Canada and Lower Canada? What? That's kinda weird. What's happening? Did you hear that? Oh, please. Why? Oh my god. Well, you lose some, get some. Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Keep Broken. Please win. What do you mean we're losing? Oh my god. Let's go. Let's go. For 0-1. It's for this time. Okay, bow down. Bonaparte. Wait, that's kinda crazy. I never did seen this before. Click here. Nation. Dock to the state. It is not. Oh my god. So close to not German Federation there. I need to improve the relation with so much. So I think I'm rivaling the US. Oh no. Okay. You don't need me, right? Don't call me. I beg you. We're better. This is it. Okay, we win. We win. Let's go. Crazy. That's just it. Let's just see if we can make a bit side now. It should no. Damn it, 78. That is so far away. No. Interesting. For election? Have I got an election? Oh, I'll wait for this one and then call another one immediately. Wait. Best of all Gary, our prime minister. No, he's not. Hey, Chancellor, I mean. It would be interesting if he were. I mean, does he exist at all? What is it like? I don't think he exists in here. Oh. Anyway, we win. Bohemia, mine. That is too much. But I can make them buy. Just I don't know. Interesting. Nice having. They should drop down soon. Oh my god, they're so close actually. Okay, they're not. Oh my god. Let's go see. Okay, we are dismantling, that's why. I see. I see now. I see how it is. But I want this, like what? The Metternich will be done. The Metternich will be done. Hi. No. What did you Customer. Customer. Manchuria. Become my colony. That should be so much money though. Oh. You can oh my, it's like it's it's all over. Over. I began. It's not. But that's it. You need. Gotta tired. Damn it. I can't submit my